Fear has a purpose. It's supposed to help you survive. Some fears are rational, like that, going into the bus as a small girl alone. And some other fears are irrational, like people judging you for your hobbies. That's an irrational fear. You should be able to distinguish between what's irrational and what's rational fear. Because if you just allow all fears to consume you, you're going to have anxiety everywhere you go. Because in society, when you go outside, you don't know everybody's intention. Everybody here is capable of, like, when you go outside, everybody is capable of basically harming you. Like, let's say there's a crazy person, they might harm you. You don't know about that. You'll have anxiety. So you should be aware, and you should have a healthy amount of fear to help you go throughout your day. But you have to think about this. Is this rational? Is this irrational? You have to give it deeper and deeper thoughts. Otherwise, living in anxiety is very bad. Imagine your whole life you're living through anxiety. That's why a lot of people probably take medication and stuff, because of runaway fear. I have experienced nothing in my life.
This is something that I have been humiliated about for basically my whole life. And, I have been thinking about this a lot lately, and I just thought that maybe someone would relate, and by this point in life, I thought that I would have achieved so much. But
How old are you? You look like you're in your 20s. That's crazy. You put a lot of expectation on yourself.
literally, I have not done one single thing in my life. I have not achieved anything. And when I think about my life, it's like, what have I even been doing? It feels like I have just been avoiding everything in life because I have been so scared. And I have felt so insecure in myself, to be honest. So I didn't even feel like I even could do anything. And as a child, I was extremely scared all the time. Like, my whole childhood is just basically me being scared and uncomfortable everywhere I went. I never felt like I could fit in. I didn't dare to even talk or look at my teachers or an adult in general. I felt like I was so small, both physically and emotionally. I felt like I wasn't allowed to take up space and, get my feelings heard, because I felt like that would make me a liability, a burden, a weak person, okay? And in this society, that was like the worst thing you could be, was to be weak and needy, and be emotional. And that is something that I have heard my whole life, that I am too emotional. But yeah, I am sensitive, and that's how I am. But I thought that this feeling would pass as I got older, this feeling of being scared. But
It does pass. It takes a long time. It doesn't move. It doesn't pass that quickly, but eventually, I feel like that passes.
no, now I'm just an adult, but equally as scared, at everything. I
Is she a young adult? She's like 20 something, then that's still like very young. It takes time. Like, the way I was in my 20s is way different than it is right now. And I feel like I've grown a lot just through time and experience. The title right here says, I have experienced nothing in your life. Because you're young. That's why. That's why you haven't experienced much. And some people are late bloomers. They take a while to start experiencing things and growing. But you do have to get outside of yourself. You have to stop fearing everything. Fear will prevent you from doing anything. There's some people who are so scared they never go out of their house. And that will make sure you don't grow or experience anything.
was so scared of even having hobbies. I was embarrassed of everything that was me. Everything that made me, I was embarrassed about. And I didn't feel like I could express myself in a safe place anywhere. So I just shut everyone out. I basically became like a ghost.
Why are you embarrassed of your hobbies? Actually, I could relate to that. I used to be embarrassed of playing Pokemon and playing Yu-Gi-Oh, which were supposed to be something nerds do. And I wanted to be cool or feel like I'm cool. So I used to be very embarrassed about that and hide that from people. But as I grew older, and I'm talking about much older, not in the 20s, closer to 30s, that's when I really just don't care no more. I mean, now Pokemon became popular, but back in the days, Pokemon was seen as a nerd. And I'm not I'm not supposed to be a nerd, right? When you look at me, do I look like a nerd? Maybe I do. Anyways, I thought it was cool, so I was hiding that hobby that I liked.
I was a nobody. I was invisible. I didn't dare to stand out from the crowd, from the class. I didn't want to be perceived in any way. And I even remember I was so scared of going on the bus alone. So, like, I used to.
I mean, that's understandable if she says she's very small. And as a girl, going on the bus alone, I can only imagine that's scary. That's very scary. That's an understandable fear. Some fears you have to trust. Fear is an actual, it has a purpose. Fear has a purpose. It's supposed to help you survive. Some fears are rational, like that, going into the bus as a small girl alone. And some other fears are irrational, like people judging you for your hobbies. That's an irrational fear. And you should be able to distinguish between what's irrational and what's rational fear. Because if you just allow all fears to consume you, you're going to have anxiety everywhere you go. Because in society, when you go outside, you don't know everybody's intention. Everybody here is capable of, when you go outside, everybody is capable of basically harming you. If they, let's say there's a crazy person, they might harm you. You don't know about that. You'll have anxiety. So you should be aware, and you should have a healthy amount of fear to help you go throughout your day. But you have to think about this. Is this rational? Is this irrational? You have to give it deeper and deeper thoughts. Otherwise, living in anxiety is very bad. Imagine your whole life you're living through anxiety. That's why a lot of people probably take medication and stuff, because of runaway fear. But sorry about that. I've been rambling, but let's go back to what she's saying.
Have meltdowns before even going on a bus or on a train, because I was so scared of, I don't even know what I was scared about, like not finding a place to sit, and then like not knowing how to cope with that, and to look, I was scared of looking stupid, I was scared of not knowing how to handle a situation, because I was scared of everything that I hadn't done before. And when you're a child, those things are many things, because you haven't experienced a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I would even in high school, I would avoid people to the point where I used to just hide out in the bathroom, like between classes, and even at lunch. I used to eat my lunch all alone on the toilet, because I didn't feel safe around anyone. I didn't feel like anybody.
Damn, she had way too much fear. You ate alone in the toilet. I don't want to judge you too harshly, but that's crazy though when you think about it. Like trying to avoid these social circumstances to the point where you go to the toilet to eat food. That's crazy. At that point is when I would, if I heard like a family member or friend say something like that, I would try to do something, help them out, because that's an irrational fear. I would give them reassurance. I would tell them, most people don't even care about you. They care about themselves so much. They don't even, that little thing that you're noticing about yourself, that you feel embarrassed, a lot of the times, the other people didn't even notice that. And it's basically elevated in your mind to an extreme level that it is not what actually happened. Because most people don't care about other people as much as they care about themselves.
Liked me, and I had no friends, so it was safer to. And I didn't want to sit in the canteen or in the cafeteria, because I didn't want to be seen being alone, It was more humiliating than actually eating in the toilet.
That should not be more humiliating. You should be okay with being alone. That's all right. But I guess the differences between a guy and a girl is stark. Like if you were sitting alone, a lot of guys might come to you and try to talk to you. So maybe you were trying to avoid that as well. But yeah, sitting alone is not more embarrassing than eating in the toilet.
So that was not fun, And then in like the summer breaks, I basically did nothing because, well, first of all, I had no friends, so I had no one to hang out with, and to be honest, I didn't really want to do anything. The few people that I like knew or like that was an acquaintance, I avoided them like the whole summer, and they used to text me, but I just played along that I didn't even see the text, you know? So, oops. But I didn't want to go out and party. I didn't want to do all of these things that society tells us that you need to do. I didn't want to go out and date and, yeah, party and stay out late. Like, no. I'm a grandma, okay? I'm an old soul. I want to stay home and
That's good.
yeah, stay home, okay? And like I used to feel, and at work, I would hate getting the questions of basically my life, like anything involving my life, because I was so embarrassed because I had basically not experienced anything. I had just been at home my whole life and like avoiding life. I had just been at home watching YouTube because it felt safer to hide than to risk being humiliated in public.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where like I used to think like, why am I even here?
See, the problem is, well, it's not a problem. A girl like her, she would not get humiliated as easily as she thinks she will be, because she's so aware of her surrounding. For somebody to be humiliated, they would have to do some crazy stuff. Society, especially nowadays, a lot of people are doing some dumb stuff for views. So if you're really trying not to be humiliated, it's very easy. If that's what she's worried about, I don't think, she just got to step outside and actually experience things in real life rather than in her mind. That's what she was doing before.
Like, not that I wanted to harm myself or anything, but I just felt like, what is my purpose here if the only thing that I'm doing is being depressed every day? Like, there was not one day out of my life that I was not depressed, anxious, sad.
That's what happens when you stay inside. It makes you succumb to fear because you're not experiencing things in real life. You're experiencing everything in your mind, which will further increase the chances of your depression, because anxiety will be through the roof. Not only that, we're human beings and we need to go outside. We need to get the sunlight, the vitamin D hitting our skin. We need to walk around and actually have our blood flowing, not just stagnating and stay in one spot, you know what I mean? Joint moving, getting some fresh air, all that. There's a lot of little things just by going outside and just walking. There's a lot of little beneficial things that add up to make you feel much better. And then you start experiencing things. You realize the experiences are not as bad as you, like, you know, as it was in your head. The way you were living it in your head is not as bad as that. And it starts to slowly and slowly remove your fear.
Were, you know, scared. And I just felt like, is this my whole life? Am I ever going to even like dare to do anything? And I didn't even dare to think about my future, because I was scared of wanting to do something, because then it meant that I had to leave my comfort zone. Yeah. So I didn't even plan my future, and I didn't even think that I would be here as an adult. I couldn't even imagine myself being an adult because I saw myself so weak. So, and I felt like, is this all to life? To just have an empty life? Like it was just empty. It wasn't filled with like things that made me evolve or made me grow. Like it was just.
How can you grow if you just stay inside and try to avoid everything? There's no way you're going to grow if you try to avoid things. That's a surefire way to stay the same. So I'm glad she realized that. Let's see how she goes about it.
Every day. And it was like I was waiting for that moment of finally getting confidence. And, you know, that day never comes. And
It never comes. It never comes until you step outside and actually experience things. With a try to also not like overreact. There's another thing. When you go outside, you have to like try to take a deep breath, calm down and actually go through life without fear. Because the fear is just going to ruin everything. The reason why fear is so powerful is because it's tied to our survival. You need fear in order to survive. You need a healthy amount of fear. Otherwise, you might do something that's very dangerous and get you killed. Because of that, because it's so tied to our survival, it's a very strong, like, feeling. It overcomes every other feeling. So in this society, we need to be able to control fear and don't let fear control you.
Also feel like I was living by this script of society, you know, that you should achieve certain things at certain points in your life. So, you know, you should graduate high school with good grades, get into a university and date and get a boyfriend and then get a good career and climb the career ladder. Like, I didn't want any of those things, and I thought that I had to, you know, I thought that I had to. And like, maybe that was part of the reason why I never did anything, because deep down I didn't want to do any of those things. I just felt like I had to. And every time I feel like I have to do something, every time I feel forced to do anything, all of a sudden I just don't want to do it, and I can't even bring myself to do it. The motivation has to come from myself and from my actual will to do it, or else I will just stop midway, you know? So, and at that point of my life, like basically my whole childhood, I just wanted to be inside, or like just play in the playground with my parent or my sister. That's everything that I needed in life. And I didn't feel comfortable with, you know, going to practice, or because I did gymnastics. But I felt so, like, every time I was around people, I felt so uncomfortable. And, you know, I could sense that the adults were so uncomfortable. And I thought that it was because of me. I thought that it was because I was unlikable and that
No, that's another bad thing. Everybody's going through their own things and they have their own thing to deal with it. Don't make that personal to you. You know what I mean? A lot of people are dealing with their own stuff. Everybody has something that they're dealing with. So if they reacted a certain way, it could be because they had a bad day. It has nothing to do with you most of the time. Unless you went out of your way to insult that person, a lot of the time it's on them, not you.
I was the problem child, that I was problematic and that I was too much. I don't really know why, but every energy, I internalized and blamed myself for it. So maybe that's why I was so scared, because I didn't know how to make people feel comfortable around me. So I felt like I had to make everyone comfortable. And that just led me to not feeling comfortable and safe, you know? So, but I have realized that, yeah, I do not want all of these things that society tells you that you need to achieve. But I still, of course, feel this feeling once in a while that, like, oh, I'm falling behind, you know, quick, you need to fix your life. But then I always come back to the feeling and realization that, like, okay, how would my life be different if I were to achieve those things? I would still be the same me, with the same feelings, with the same problems in my life. Like, if I were...
No, achieving those things will change you because you will have grown, right? You will at least have grown or changed a little bit. So it could change you. And you will have a sense of accomplishment. So it's not true what you're saying right now. You will grow. I mean, you're still you, yes. But you'll be a different version of you, a more experienced, a version who went through more things and has more perspective and a wider range of experiences.
Go into the best university, you know, and get a degree and get a good career. I think genuinely that I would be more miserable, because that's not something that I want.
See, she's still living in her head right now. She's already trying to experience, like, she's trying to figure out how she would react in that certain scenario. You will never know until you actually do it. She's still living in her head. So I'm not no psychologist, but I would say for her, stop living in your head. Go outside and live in the real life. Don't assume.
Maybe you don't have to figure out your whole life by the time that you are 18 or 20 or 25 or 30. who knows? And why does life have to be something that you figure out? I think that is the biggest lie of this society. Like, that is the biggest lie. That is just
Why? Why? I mean, you figure things out when you go through life. Why is that a lie?
putting yourself up to failure. It's like we want other
So what if you fail? Everybody fails. If you're not failing, then you haven't tried. I know 100% way to make sure that you don't fail. That is, don't try. If you don't try, you're not going to fail. But if you don't try, you're also not going to succeed. And why does you think failure is the worst thing? Unless you like succumb to failure, unless after you fail, you don't try again, then you make sure failure is the final thing. You made failure your finale. Don't do that.
when we say those things to people, it's like, do we want them to feel like a failure? Like, I think that most of all walk around with this feeling of feeling behind all the time, and there are no like milestones really. And like, yeah, I can't get those years back, but as long as I'm living and as long as we are all living, we can always try again. And you know, we still have time to do all of the things that we wanted to do. And you know, it's a cliche, but age is just a number. Why are we treating it like when you are a certain age, you can't do certain things?
I agree with that. The timing is when the timing doesn't matter as much. People grow in different rates. Some people are late bloomers. Like I'm a late bloomer right now. I'm in my 30s and I'm trying to figure things out right now. I could say I'm a failure and then just label myself that and for the rest of my life go crawl in somewhere in a room and never show up. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep pushing because I feel like I could still grow. Even at my age, I feel like I'm starting to grow right now because I'm finally starting to actually like push forward, live life, learn things, experience things. I'm doing all that right now. And I don't feel old at all. I feel very young right now.
Like, that pisses me off so much. So whether you are 60, whether you are 100, I don't care. You can still do everything that you want. And yeah, you will get nasty comments from people, but let them.
That's another thing about age. Age, I don't think it's more about the actual age you are. It's more about how healthy you are, how mobile you are. Like somebody who's 50 and is very mobile, I would consider is younger than somebody who's in 30s and immobile, because they have more things they can do. They're technically younger because of their mobility. Like they could do things a younger person can than a person who's like let's say 35 and is barely can move, is out of shape and never literally worked on themselves.
This means that they are hurting when they see you do things, because that's just a mirror to them. Like, that they have to take control of their own life and actually face all of the things that they haven't done, that they wish that they had done. And they can't live with that guilt and shame. So that's just why they want to stop you. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say with this video. And yeah, so just like, we don't have to have everything figured out in one day. That is what's making us so miserable. So yeah, thank you for watching this far.
I agree with you. I agree with you. You don't have to have anything figured out at a certain time. Go by your own timeline. Go by your own speed. If you try to compare yourself to other people who are going in a much faster speed, all you're going to do is just make yourself feel worse and more miserable, because you're a different person than that person. You're completely different. You experienced life a whole different way than everybody else. So stop like comparing yourself to those people.
And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for that video. And for the most part, I do agree with her, but I also disagree with the part where she's living in her own head. She's saying, if I do this, then it's not going to change me. But you don't know. You cannot live in your head. You have to live in real life. Go outside with an open mind where you can experience things the right way, instead of just staying inside and never going outside. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.